In my last East-West Rail video, I spoke briefly about the missing Aylesbury Link that could potentially link Aylesbury to East-West Rail. In that video, I mentioned that the work being done by HS2 makes the link more likely to be delivered, not less. But what I didn't fully appreciate at the time is the amount of work that is being done to provide provision for a link in future, or just how short the section of track would need to be. As I've mentioned in previous videos, HS2 is using part of the old Great Central alignment. It would seem, much to the annoyance of GCR evangelists, who seem to think that opening the full Great Central Railway would be a simple task. But HS2 is simply using the section of the GCR which is most useful. But as I've learned, using part of an old track bed doesn't mean that building a railway on that section is any less difficult. Not least because HS2 is having to build a number of structures within a relatively short distance, all while building in passive provision for a link and dealing with a floodplain. The 10km section of HS2 from Quainton to just past EWR near to Calvert requires the construction of 9 bridges and what is being referred to as a bat mitigation structure that will be 800 metres long. This section, which is being delivered by the EKFB joint venture, also includes the construction of bridges on the EWR route, which were constructed by EKFB rather than East-West Rail due to the interface with HS2 and the link from EWR to the HS2 infrastructure maintenance depot. As you would expect, a number of road bridges are having to be constructed, such as Station Road in Quainton, School Hill in Calvert, and Perry Hill Overbridge near to Steeple Claydon. In addition to those bridges, EKFB is also constructing a dual-purpose bridge that will link the rail sidings to the Great Moor Waste Facility, which includes a landfill and incinerator. The sidings, which existed there previously, allowed trains to deliver waste from London to the facility. However, the railhead was removed 2 years ago to allow for the construction of HS2. The new railhead will be connected to the London to Aylesbury line by what remains of the Metropolitan and Great Central joint line. This railhead will be on the eastern side of the HS2 tracks, whereas the energy facility is on the western side. Therefore, a bridge is being constructed to allow waste to be transported from the railhead to the facility. In addition, the bridge, known as Gun 28, will be 42 metres wide and will act as a green bridge, and there will be space for a bridleway. The bridge will be wide enough to span the HS2 tracks and the railhead, as well as allowing Network Rail tracks to continue north in future. However, for the time being, this will be as far north as the Network Rail tracks will reach. The new railhead is scheduled to open in 2028. Allowing trains to recommence deliveries of waste from London. This will leave between 2 and 3 kilometres of track that would be needed to connect Aylesbury to East-West Rail. That would require the building of a new cord and likely a switch on the EWR tracks, so may not be as cheap as it sounds. But I'm still very much of the opinion that the link should be constructed. But, as I mentioned in the last EWR video, that is a matter for the DFT, and HS2 has no remit to provide anything other than passive provision. Gun 28 isn't the only structure which has passive provision for the tracks, as the Sheephouse Wood bat mitigation structure is being constructed wide enough to accommodate 4 tracks. The 800 metre long tunnel-like structure is being constructed to protect rare species of bats from passing trains. Although it will somewhat resemble a tunnel, it won't technically be a tunnel. The structure will be formed from concrete and steel, with concrete ribs separated by steel arch sections. Network Rail is providing around a third of the funding for this structure, as it is being designed to accommodate the HS2 tracks and additional tracks for a possible link in future. Alongside the mitigation structure, EKFB is also having to install 881 20 metre deep piles, atop which there'll be a concrete capping beam. This structure is needed to resist the lateral movement of the landfill, which is more like a landhill at this point. A green bridge will be built on the northern section of the structure, which will also act as a sort of portal. The green bridge will allow for a footpath and cycleway to cross above the tracks. A further additional green bridge will be constructed between Sheephouse Wood and School Hill to further mitigate the impact of the line for residents living in the village of Calvert. Construction of School Hill Road Bridge is now well underway, with piling completed in the summer. The new bridge will be wide enough to accommodate 4 tracks below, and in addition the bridge will also act as another green bridge, with space for planting above as well as the road. This bridge is scheduled to be completed by 2025. Just to the north of the Gowcott Road underbridge, EKFB are also building another bridge known as Perry Hill Overbridge, which is technically part of Gowcott Road. The road was realigned to pass under the EWR tracks, and will then pass over the HS2 tracks, once the road has been further realigned. Gowcott Road is now closed to allow for the realignment, which also includes diverting a gas main, with the road expected to reopen in March 2025. The Perry Hill Overbridge is being constructed wide enough to span the HS2 tracks and a connection from the main line to the infrastructure maintenance depot. A final bridge, known as West Street Overbridge, is being constructed within the work zone referred to as CA. Although we didn't get to see the bridge during our visit, but HS2 did point out a 600-ton crane was being assembled, which would be used to lift the bridge deck beams into place, with the lift now having taken place since my visit. During the visit, it was also possible to see the amount of dewatering that EKFB are having to do, especially after the heavy rain recently experienced. To counter the floodplain and protect local villages from flooding, the joint venture is having to install a number of culverts under what will be the tracks and install drainage channels. As you can hopefully see, building a new route, even on an existing alignment, is difficult. But it is just the nature of constructing infrastructure in the UK, with the dense web of roads and existing and abandoned railways to cross, all whilst trying to mitigate the impacts on local residents and wildlife.